Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Welcome to week 2 of Tease Tell. Sorry I had to change the time. Life, happens, and I had something going on that I had made that appointment before I started doing this. So forgive me for that. Next week we'll go back to the 12 o'clock Central Time. But thanks for joining. Thanks for coming in. If you pop on, please say hi. If you watch the replay, please let me know. What we're going to talk about today is living in the illusion of others, or living as is expected of you versus what you want to live. So are you living based on the expectations of others or fear of what others might think of you? If so, you're not alone. I did this for many, many years, and I'm going to tell you a little story about that. But overcoming those expectations is really hard. And part of my message today is hoping people will listen to this and maybe be able to apply it to their life, and it doesn't take them as long as it took me. So a little bit of my story, so I grew up, of course, when we're children, there's expectations put upon us, and those can be a good thing. And as I grew up, I continued to be that follow the rules, goody little two shoes, do everything right, and everything as was expected of me. And it was kind of in college where I got a little taste first of living for me, living the way I wanted to live, but it wasn't enough to overcome those expectations. As I got to the end of college, I was dating someone that lived in another state, and I started questioning that. And what seriously went through my head is, you're supposed to go to college to find your husband, and if I don't find my husband in college, where am I going to find him? So I ended up getting married and moving to another state and living that way that I was supposed to live. Over the years, several years later, my dad passed away, and he was only 55. So that reminded me that life is short. And if I'm unhappy, the man was fabulous. We have a great relationship, but we weren't meant to be married. And life is too short. I needed to get out of that situation. So I did. And at that point, I was really happy and feeling good, living on my own and doing what I wanted to do. And I remember one day talking to my mother and saying, "Mom, I've never been so happy." And her response was, "Oh, that's great, honey, but I really worry about you without a man." So this message of this expectation, you're supposed to be married, I had 2 little kids. So I actually ended up jumping into another marriage that I shouldn't have jumped into. And I quickly realized into that, mistake from the beginning, but I quickly realized into that this wasn't right. But now I'm worrying about what everybody's going to think if I leave this one, and having 2 failed marriages, and what's everybody going to think? And everybody thinks he's a nice guy, but they don't know what's behind closed doors. And it took me 10 years in that situation, and being on top of the Tetons one time. Hi, Jennifer. Being on top of the Tetons one time, I realized, this was early 2000s, I realized that I felt peace. I felt accomplishment of something I did. I felt at peace. I realized I had not felt at peace for years. And that made me have that courage to come home and start making those changes that I needed to do. And it was hard. It was, I just stayed too long because of fear of what people would think. And it's hard to make those changes again. But, when you start to make some of those changes, you start feeling more empowered, and that starts giving you more courage. And that's kind of what this is about, is trying to be able to overcome those expectations that we live as to what other people think we should do, how we should act, all of that kind of stuff. So the first step with that is really giving yourself some grace. That self-compassion and taking time to care for yourself so that your cup is filled, so that you can help others, like my children, and with this situation, and to be able to take those next steps. The second one thing to do is really start adjusting how you think, or what your inner voice is saying to you. You cannot change, you cannot control what other people think. You cannot control that at all. And so not beating yourself up for that, and really talking to yourself with a more kind voice, and not the negativity part, because you can do this. You can get out of this. The third one is speak up. People need limits. Just like kids, they need limits. People need limits, and they set those boundaries for yourself and speak about what you want. Begin saying what you want. Your opinion matters. So that is very important. The fourth one is really free yourself from your own preconceived notions. If you can stop that judgment, you can help others to stop that judgment too. And really, when you start empowering yourself to step into your own person, you are inspiring others to do the same. So when I was in that second marriage for so long, I started realizing, what am I teaching my daughter? And by being able to have the courage to, or my children, both my children, but especially my daughter, start having that courage to take the steps that you need to do to live your life for you. I'm showing her that she could do that too, if the situation arose. So the next one is put expectations in perspective. Remember that the expectations of others is their expectations. It's on them, and it's their problem. It's not your problem. So if you can keep that in mind, then that can really help. You know, when I was also in that situation and leaving, there was some bad things that were said to people, and I even ended up with my pastor of worrying about what people are going to think of me. I was still worrying about that, and she said, people who know you, and they're not going to believe it. So that helped in trying to put that into perspective and not to beat myself up for it. And then also just deciding what you want, and then start moving towards it. Once I started moving toward what I wanted, it was so freeing. It was so empowering. And those little steps, each little step that I took gave me more confidence, gave me more better self-esteem. You know, when I did that, that's when things started happening. I've got the man of my dreams, and good things start happening because you're happier. And as we talked about last week, positivity draws positivity, and vice versa. So that's when I started living. And so I would encourage you, don't be you. I talk about this in my Lash Attitudes group, my VIP group, all the time, of be you. Don't be afraid. Be yourself and take those steps towards it. Ultimately, the key to letting go of the expectations in others is not fighting them and not resenting them, but being able to balance and keep them in the proper place. That's what's so important with those expectations. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It's just keeping them in the proper place so they're not ruling your life. Life is not perfect, but removing the expectations will help you to appreciate what you have. And any moment, for me, it was on top of Paintbrush Divide in the Tetons. Any moment can be a turning point in which you can decide to take control of your life, to change your life, to love yourself. And that's what I wish for all of you guys out there. And message me if you want to talk, or if I can help in any way. That's what I'm here for. Thanks for joining me today. I wanted to keep it short and sweet as much as I could. And so thanks for joining me. Please share this with anyone if you feel like it would be helpful for them. And let me know if you watch. I don't see anybody on. I saw Jennifer, but besides that, I don't see anybody on. So please let me know if you watch this. Write replay or send me a comment. I would love to hear from you. So thanks, you guys. And I will see you next week at the correct time, hopefully. All right. Bye-bye.